I'm Ken Verderami, and welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Steel Shooter, where we talk about all things and only things Steel Challenge. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel this Sunday afternoon here. Before we get jumping into today's topic, just a quick note about the channel in general. One of the things I take a look at on a regular basis is the analytics from YouTube, tell you how the channel is going. And what it's showing is that only about 30% of all the people watching the videos every week are actually subscribed to the channel. And so it would really help me out is if you like these videos and are watching them every week, you just go down in that lower right-hand corner of the screen and hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. You'll get notified immediately when there are new updates to the channel, and it'll really help the channel grow and help me continue to bring this free content to everyone. So, as always, subscribe. If you like the content, hit the like button and comment. Those likes and comments are also a big deal for the analytics that Google uses to decide how they're going to let you eventually potentially monetize the channel. All right, enough of that political announcement there. Let's get into today's topic. So, this is actually going to be the subject of a future article that's going to come out in Front Sight magazine. For those of you that don't know, I write a regular column in the magazine called the Steel Challenge Shooting Corner. If you haven't already checked that out, and you're a member of USPSA, please check that out. Let me know if there are things that you're interested in me writing about on that regular article. All right, so what I want to talk about today is something that I think will resonate with pretty much every shooter out there. And that's this idea that, you know, pretty much for 99% of everyone shooting in the sport, they have no plans or interest or desire to become the next Steel Challenge speed shooting world champion, right? They're just in the sport because they like it, it's fun. However, they still want to actually try to get better. They just are not going to be looking at becoming one of the top 2 or 3 shooters in the world. Okay, so a lot of what you hear from people is things you ought to be doing to get better, and the training programs are pretty intense, right? And they're all kind of pointed at that really far end. So what I want to talk about today is something I call the non-future world champion training program, okay? And that's not meant to slight anybody or saying that, you know, just because you don't want to do that, you're somehow lesser or not as motivated. You know, that's just not the case, okay? Not everybody wants to be a world champion, and that's okay. But if you want to get better, there are still real things you should be doing. They're just going to be different than someone who's actually want to try to become, you know, win an area championship or a national or world championship, okay? So I'm going to step through kind of at the top level what I think this kind of overall program will look like, and then we'll talk about some details as well. So, number one, like with everything else, you gotta set goals, okay? If you don't know where you're going, you're never gonna get there. It doesn't matter what those are. So, you need to be realistic and set some goals, right? So, maybe you just wanna move up 1 or 2 classes from where you currently are and be a legitimate class shooter in whatever classification that is. Maybe you just want to, you'd like to win your local level 1 match, or at least be competitive every time you go to a local match to be able to win. Okay? So, quite frankly, if your goals are much more lofty than that, you're kind of in the I want to be a champion world, and that's okay, but this is not the training program I'm going to recommend that's going to get you there. That's a very different type of program if that's what you want to be able to do, okay? So, what I'm going to do for this is let's assume that your goal is you want to move up 1 or 2 classes in the next year. Okay, that's a legitimate goal that I think a lot of people have, and let's talk about a training program that will get you to that, okay? So we're going to assume that you're a B-class shooter, and maybe you've been a B-class shooter for some time, maybe even a couple of years, and you finally said, you know, I'm tired of doing that. I really want to be a legitimate A or even a master class shooter. So The one thing about making B class is that's pretty easy. You don't need a lot of skill. You don't need a lot of training, actually. You can kind of stumble your way into B class. But breaking out of B class, that's way harder. And the reason for that is a couple-fold. So number one, to be a legitimate A-class shooters, your fundamentals, they've got to be rock solid, and you can't be making mistakes on a consistent basis at matches, okay? You can't. You've got to eliminate those simple mental mistakes, and your fundamentals got to be there all the time. So the training program that I'm going to recommend kind of is going to focus on three different things. Number one is you need to perfect your fundamental steel challenge shooting skills. And we'll talk about what those are in a second, but that's number one. Number two, you need to be able to learn to shoot consistently, right? Not have a great match, a poor match, a great stage, a bad stage. Consistent shooting all the time. And then number three, you need to learn to eliminate, if not all, 90+% of mental errors you make during a match. So, big picture, what does that look like? So I'm going to tell you that if you would be willing to commit to a dry fire program that's 3 times a week, 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then live fire 1 or 2 times a month, and then throw in 1 match for your monthly allotment that you're going to put your commitment towards shooting, that you can pretty easily, quote unquote, make A class if you're a B class shooter, and with a little bit of time you can even make master doing that. That's not going to happen in a month, right, if you're a B class shooter, but you can go from 6 months to certainly within a year if you follow just that regimen and you're training correctly. And that's a subject for a different video, but if you're training correctly and putting in only that amount of time, you can make master class. Okay, so what's that look like on a monthly basis, right? You're looking at a total of about 4 hours of dry fire a month. You're looking at maybe 2 to 4 hours of live fire a month, depending on how much ammo you have and how much you commit to each live fire session. And then let's say you shoot 1 5-hour match per month, right? So you add that up, and that's about 11 to 13 hours dedicated to shooting per month to eventually move up from a B class shooter to a master class shooter, right? It's not that big a commitment, quite frankly, when you look at it in the big scheme of things. And I'll bet that most of you out there, if you're into watching professional sports, I'll bet most of you easily spend that much time in a typical weekend just watching professional football in season, or baseball or basketball, whatever you like to do, right? It's easy to watch a game or two and sit in front of the TV all day Sunday and watch 5, 6, 7 hours of football when NFL is around. Same thing for basketball, baseball, whatever professional sport you like, right? So we're not talking about a ton of commitment here. So think about that. If you're struggling with, oh, this is going to be really hard to do, because it's not talking about a lot of time. All right, so let's break down the details here. So I'm going to tell you, you want to spend 50% of your time on fundamental technique perfection and 50% of your time on learning to shoot consistently and learning to stop making mental mistakes, okay? Right? Grip, trigger control, transitions, draw mechanics, all that kind of stuff is 50% of your time. I've said this a million times. The difference between elite shooters and the rest of everybody else is that they execute the fundamentals at a level that is incomprehensible to the average shooter. Now, let's take a quick example. Let's say your draw time to a 10-yard target is 2.5 seconds, okay? Well, I'm going to tell you that should be the main number one focus of your fundamental technique program, because 2.5 second draw to a 10 or 12-yard target is, quite frankly, horrendous, and it's killing your times. And there are major improvements that can be made there in overall time, and you need to focus your effort on doing that, okay? It might be really cool to drop a tenth or 0.15 seconds off your transitions and say, well, I shoot 0.25 or 0.2 transitions, okay? Not going to do much for your overall score as dropping multiple seconds on every stage because you've improved your draw, okay? Now, if your transitions are really slow, right? If you're transitioning 0.8, 0.9 seconds between targets, yeah, you need to work on that too. But you need to prioritize your skill issues and work on the ones first that are going to be the most benefit. Okay? The decreasing part-time methodology that I talk about in my books and training and all that is the best way to lower your times once you learn the basic mechanics of a skill. Okay? All right, so the other 50% is consistency and no mental mistakes. So how do you do that? Okay, I'm going to tell you this: the easiest way to work on that in your training is you need to put as much simulated match pressure on yourself in training as you can. We all know that in training we always shoot better than the matches because there's no pressure. Well, you need to add pressure to your training. And one of the best ways to do that is the cold stage run that I talk about. And not only do the cold stage runs, right? No alibis, no do-overs, just walk up, right to start, shoot the stage, record the results, and track it over time and see if you're getting better or worse or staying the same. That is the best indication is, are your skills improving under pressure, which is all that matters, because under pressure is going to be during a match. The other way to help you do that is commit to posting the video of these cold stage runs on your social media every time you do them. Again, no alibis, don't cherry picking the good runs, the good, the bad, the ugly. Every time you do a cold stage run, stick it on your social media and let the whole world see how good or how bad you are. I promise you, the pucker factor and the amount of pressure you feel when you're standing in the bay by yourself practicing, when you know that when you get home or the next day you're going to post that ugly video of you shooting a stage and having 2 misses or whatever, that's the kind of pressure you need to add to your training that will help you when you get to a match. You're used to pressure and it won't be that big a deal as well. Okay, so that's kind of pretty much it. All right, in a short, in a nutshell here about my recommendation for putting together a simple training program that will still be able to get you pretty far, but again, it's not the kind of thing, right, to be a national champion where you need to be training 6 days a week, 2 hours a day for the next 3 to 5 years without skipping a week ever. Okay, right? That's the kind of commitment it takes if you want to be the next Ben Steiger or Max Michel or whoever you want to be. That's the kind of, even if they don't tell you that, that's the kind of commitment that those guys have put in. All right? So give these things a try, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that in a relatively short period of time, you will start to see major improvements. Okay, so I think we'll end the video right there. Remember, if you're interested in my dry fire training system, check out my website there, steelshootbanners.com. We've got all the steel talent, all 8 stages there in banner form. We've got all USPSA training. We've got over 40 USPSA training banners, 15 classifier stages. We got the Glock Shooting Sports Foundation, the 3 stages there as well. And again, as always, dry fire is the key to this sport to getting better. And so if you're not doing some kind of dry fire, you're probably hurting yourself, and these banners are one of the really, really good ways to help yourself, and they make training so much more efficient and therefore so much more effective. Don't forget my books, Do You Feel the Need for Speed and The Game Within the Game, the only 2 training books on the market dedicated 100% to the Sport Steel Challenge. You can find them both at Amazon Books as well, and we'll put the links for all that down in the description as always. And of course, as always, remember, slowing down is never the right answer. Never. You need to learn to see faster.
Great. Bye.